She nursed a wounded rogue back to health, until his eyes glowed and the pack bowed to their alpha. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's get back to our main character. Jasmine had always lived a quiet life, isolated from the bustling world around her. As an omega in the pack, she was constantly overlooked and undervalued. She had no exceptional talents, no incredible powers, only a kind heart that guided her to care for the wounded creatures she often found in the forest. But Jasmine had no idea that this simple act of kindness would change everything for her. It all started one evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with shades of pink and orange. Jasmine was walking along the edge of the woods when she heard a soft whimpering sound coming from the thicket. Curiosity piqued. She cautiously approached the sound and found a black wolf, its fur matted with blood and its leg twisted at an unnatural angle. The poor creature was barely clinging to life, its breathing shallow and uneven. Without hesitation, Jasmine knelt beside it, gently reaching out to touch its fur. The wolf looked up at her with sad, amber eyes, and in that moment, she felt a strange sense of connection. She carefully cradled its head in her lap, whispering comforting words as she inspected its wounds. It was clear that the wolf had been in a brutal fight, but it also seemed like something more was at play, something that Jasmine couldn't quite understand. With tender hands, Jasmine began tending to the creature's wounds. She wasn't a healer by any means, but her natural empathy and instincts guided her. She applied what little she knew to clean its cuts and wrap its injured leg with strips of cloth. As the night grew darker, she stayed by its side, offering warmth and solace. Jasmine didn't know how long she sat there, holding the injured wolf and hoping for a miracle. But, as the moonlight bathed them both in its silvery glow, something incredible happened. The wolf's body began to shift, its form convulsing as it transformed from a beast into a man. Jasmine gasped in shock, her heart pounding in her chest as she watched the figure before her. His features were striking, sharp jawline, piercing silver eyes, and dark hair that fell in messy waves. His eyes glowed with an otherworldly intensity, a gaze that sent shivers down Jasmine's spine. The man, now fully human, groaned in pain as he tried to sit up. Jasmine froze, her mind racing to process what had just happened. Was this a dream? Or had the wolf truly transformed into a man? He looked at her with the same amber eyes, his gaze full of something deep, something familiar. Who are you? Jasmine whispered, her voice barely audible. The man's lips curled into a faint smile, but there was no humor in his expression. I'm Kairos, he said, his voice low and gravelly. And you are my savior. Jasmine stared at him, her mind still struggling to comprehend the situation. But one thing was clear, this was no ordinary man. The way he held himself, the power in his eyes, told her that he was more than he appeared. As Kairos stood, Jasmine noticed that the pack's wolves, who had gathered in the distance, were now bowing to him. Their alpha had returned, and his power was undeniable. Jasmine felt a rush of emotions, fear, awe, confusion, but above all, a sense of destiny. She had saved him, and now, her life would never be the same. As Jasmine sat in stunned silence, staring at the man who had once been a wolf, the world around her seemed to fall away. The only thing that remained was the man, Kairos, standing before her with glowing eyes that pierced through the night. She had saved him, and now, standing in front of her, was someone far more powerful than she could have ever imagined. He moved with an elegance that contradicted the raw power she could feel radiating from him. His muscles rippled beneath his tattered clothes, and despite the evident strain from his recent transformation, there was a strength in him that made her heart race. As the wolves from the pack slowly approached, they fell to their knees in respect. Jasmine couldn't believe what she was seeing. She had tended to this injured creature, not knowing who he truly was. And now, they were bowing to him, acknowledging him as their alpha. Who are you really? Jasmine asked, her voice trembling with awe and a hint of fear. Kairos turned to her, his expression softening for the first time. I am the alpha of the Crescent Moon Pack, he said, his voice low and commanding. I have been cursed, exiled, and forgotten. But you have brought me back. Jasmine's mind was racing. She had just saved an alpha. No, the alpha. The one who had been lost to his pack and his people for years. Her heart ached as she thought about how she had only seen him as a wounded creature in need of care. Now, she realized he was so much more. But why? Why didn't you tell me who you were? She asked, unable to hide the confusion in her voice. Kairos looked at her with a mixture of gratitude and regret. Because I wanted to see if your kindness was real, Jasmine. I needed to know if you could accept me for who I am, not what I was. Jasmine's heart fluttered at the mention of her name. You know my name? She whispered, still processing the magnitude of the situation. I know you, Jasmine, Kairos replied softly. I have known you from the moment I laid eyes on you. Your heart, your strength, your soul. It called to me, even in my weakened state. He stepped closer to her, his presence overwhelming. You are my mate. Jasmine felt her breath catch in her throat. The word, mate, was heavy with meaning. It was a word that had been whispered about in the pack, a bond so strong that nothing could break it. She had heard the stories, but she never imagined she would be the one to experience it. The moment his words sank in, she felt a warmth spread through her chest, a connection that ran deeper than she could explain. But at the same time, a part of her was terrified. This was a man, an alpha, who had been through unimaginable trials. He was a leader, a king, and now, he was claiming her. I don't know if I can be what you need, Jasmine admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. I've always been weak, overlooked. How could I possibly be your mate? Kairos reached out and gently cupped her face in his strong hands, his touch tender despite his immense power. You are stronger than you realize, Jasmine. You have been my strength in ways you don't even know. It's not about what you think you lack. It's about the heart you have. The heart that saved me. Jasmine felt tears sting her eyes as his words washed over her. For the first time in her life, she felt seen, truly seen for who she was. As the pack continued to bow in reverence, she knew that her life was forever changed. She was no longer just an Omega. She was Kairos' mate, and she would stand by his side, no matter what the future held. The weight of the moment settled in, and Jasmine knew there was no turning back. The bond between them was unbreakable, and she would follow him, not as a servant or a lesser being, but as his equal, his mate. I will stand with you, Kairos, she said, her voice steady and strong, matching the resolve in her heart. Wherever you go, I go. Kairos' eyes softened, and a small, genuine smile spread across his face. Then we have a future, Jasmine. A future together, and no one will ever take that from us. As the days passed, Jasmine's life began to change in ways she couldn't have imagined. She and Kairos spent more time together, the bond between them growing stronger with each passing moment. Despite the fear that still lingered in her heart, she found herself drawn to him in a way that was undeniable. His presence, once overwhelming and intimidating, now felt like a source of strength and protection. They had spent countless hours talking, learning about each other, and sharing their stories. Jasmine had learned that Kairos was not just a powerful alpha, but a man who had endured unimaginable pain. He had been cursed by dark magic, trapped in his wolf form for years, and exiled from his pack, forced to live in the shadows. Yet, despite all of this, he had never lost his sense of honor and his desire to protect those he loved. As the days grew longer, Jasmine's fears slowly began to dissipate. She had started to realize that she was no longer just a healer, a weak Omega. She was his mate, his equal, and she would stand beside him, no matter what challenges lay ahead. But there was still much to learn. The wolves in Kairos' pack had been keeping their distance, and Jasmine knew she would have to earn their respect. The bond she shared with Kairos was strong, but it would take time for her to fully understand what it meant to be the mate of an alpha. One afternoon, as they sat by the edge of the forest, Kairos turned to Jasmine, his expression serious. You know, Jasmine, there is still much to be done, he said, his voice low and steady. My pack needs a leader, and I have been away for too long. I will have to face them, prove that I am still worthy of my place. Jasmine nodded, understanding the weight of his words. She had seen the respect in the eyes of the wolves who had bowed to him, but she also knew that their loyalty could not be won overnight. Kairos had been gone for too long, and there were many who still doubted his ability to lead. "What can I do to help?" Jasmine asked, her voice filled with determination. "You are already helping me more than you know," Kairos said with a soft smile. "But there will be a time when we must face the pack together. When that time comes, we will need to show them that our bond is real, that we are not just two individuals, but a united force." Jasmine felt a surge of pride in her chest. She had always been overlooked, always been told that she was weak, but now she had someone, who saw her for who she truly was. She was no longer invisible. She was Kairos' mate, and together, they would face whatever came their way. That evening, they gathered the pack together, standing in the clearing beneath the full moon. The air was thick with tension as the wolves watched them closely, their eyes flicking between Kairos and Jasmine. Kairos stood tall, his presence commanding, but it was Jasmine who caught the attention of the pack. As the moonlight bathed her in its glow, she felt the weight of the moment, the eyes of the pack fixed on her. This was her moment. "Jasmine is not just my mate," Kairos said, his voice ringing out through the clearing. "She is my equal, my partner in everything. Together, we will lead this pack into the future. No more shadows, no more doubt. We are united, and nothing can break us." The pack remained silent for a long moment, and Jasmine's heart raced in her chest. She knew that their acceptance was not something that could be forced, but something that would come with time and trust. And just when she thought they might reject her, the alpha of the pack stepped forward. "If you are truly his mate, Jasmine," he said, his voice gruff, "then you are welcome here. But you must prove yourself. We will watch, and we will wait." Jasmine nodded, her heart swelling with gratitude and determination. She had earned her place, and she would prove it. As the pack dispersed, Jasmine turned to Kairos, her eyes filled with resolve. "I will not let you down," she said, her voice steady. Kairos smiled, his eyes softening. "I know you won't, Jasmine. Together, we will build a future where we stand as equals, side by side." As the days passed, Jasmine and Kairos grew even closer, their bond deepening with each shared moment. Despite the tension in the pack and the lingering doubts of some wolves, Jasmine felt a new sense of purpose. She was no longer just a healer. She was Kairos' mate, his equal, and a leader in her own right. Together, they faced the challenges ahead. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden hue over the forest, Kairos pulled Jasmine aside. "It's time," he said, his voice serious. "The pack must see that we are united, that we are stronger together. I need you by my side, Jasmine, when we take back what's rightfully ours." Jasmine nodded, her heart racing with anticipation. She knew this moment was coming, but now that it was here, she could feel the weight of the responsibility resting on her shoulders. "I'm ready," she said, her voice filled with determination. Kairos smiled, the warmth in his eyes making her heart swell. "I never doubted you." The next morning, they gathered the pack in the clearing once more. The air was thick with anticipation as the wolves waited, their eyes focused on Kairos and Jasmine. The alpha stepped forward, his presence commanding, and Jasmine stood at his side, her heart pounding in her chest. She had never felt more alive, more powerful. "Today, we take back what is ours," Kairos said, his voice strong and steady. "This pack has been through too much. We will rebuild, we will rise, and we will do it together. But first, we must prove to them that we are worthy of their trust." The pack remained silent, their eyes flicking between Kairos and Jasmine. Jasmine could feel their skepticism, their uncertainty, but she was not afraid. She knew that with Kairos by her side, they could overcome anything. "Jasmine and I will lead you into the future," Kairos continued. "Not as Alpha and Omega, but as equals, partners in everything. Together, we will show you the strength of our bond, and together, we will reclaim what was taken from us." Jasmine felt a surge of power within her as the wolves watched them. This was her moment, the moment when she would prove herself, when she would show the pack that she was more than just an Omega. She was Kairos' mate, his partner, and she was ready to lead. The silence in the clearing was deafening as the pack looked to each other, whispering among themselves. Jasmine could hear their doubts, their fears, but she stood tall, her resolve unwavering. She had come a long way from the timid Omega she once was. She had proven herself to Kairos, and now, she would prove herself to the pack. Just as Jasmine began to wonder if they would accept her, the alpha of the pack stepped forward. "You've been gone a long time, Kairos," he said, his voice gruff. "And we've been through a lot. But if you truly believe that Jasmine is the one to lead us, then we will follow." Jasmine's heart swelled with gratitude, but she knew this was only the beginning. They would have to prove their worth every day. "We will lead you, together," Jasmine said, her voice steady and confident. "And we will rebuild this pack, stronger than ever." With that, the pack bowed their heads, acknowledging Jasmine as their alpha's mate. It was a moment of acceptance, but Jasmine knew the journey ahead would be filled with challenges. She would have to earn their trust, but with Kairos by her side, she knew they could do anything. As the pack dispersed, Jasmine and Kairos stood together, the weight of their new responsibilities settling in. But they were ready to face the future, ready to build a life together, and ready to lead the pack into a new era. Kairos turned to Jasmine, his eyes softening. "We've come a long way," he said, his voice filled with emotion. "But this is just the beginning. Together, we will make our mark on this world, Jasmine, and nothing will stand in our way." Jasmine smiled, feeling the warmth of his words in her chest. "Together," she whispered, knowing that their future was as bright as the moonlit sky above them. As the days turned into weeks, the Crescent Moon Pack slowly began to rebuild. The pack's trust in Kairos and Jasmine grew with each passing day, but there were still many obstacles to overcome. The pack was fractured, and some wolves had doubts about Jasmine's place as their Jasmine. The power dynamics were shifting, and while Jasmine had earned Kairos's respect, gaining the pack's trust was a different challenge entirely. Jasmine spent her days learning the ways of the pack, understanding the intricacies of leadership, and helping Kairos restore the order that had been lost during his absence. She met with the other wolves, listening to their concerns, earning their respect by showing her strength and compassion. Each day, she proved that she was not just a healer, but a true leader who could guide them through the difficult times ahead. One evening, as Jasmine sat alone in the clearing, reflecting on the journey she had taken, she heard a familiar voice behind her. "You're still awake," Kairos said, his tone gentle. Jasmine turned to see him standing there, his silhouette outlined by the moonlight. "I can't sleep," she replied with a small smile. "There's so much to do, so much to prove." Kairos stepped closer, his presence comforting. "You've proven more than enough already," he said softly. "The pack is starting to see the strength in you. But remember, this journey is not just about us, it's about them too. We have to lead them as one, not just as a pair." Jasmine nodded, understanding the weight of his words. It wasn't just about gaining power, it was about restoring the pack, about building a future where every wolf, no matter their rank, felt valued and important. "I know," she said, her voice steady. "But sometimes it feels like we're so far from where we need to be." Kairos smiled, reaching out to take her hand. "The road ahead will be difficult," he said, "but we will face it together. You and I, side by side, and we'll make it through." Jasmine squeezed his hand, feeling the strength in his words. She had always felt like an outsider, always been told she was weak, but now, she stood as Jasmine, a leader with a powerful alpha by her side. The weight of that title, of that responsibility, no longer felt heavy. It felt right. The next morning, Jasmine and Kairos stood before the pack again, ready to address the challenges ahead. The wolves gathered around, their eyes watching them closely. Jasmine could feel the tension in the air, but she stood tall, confident in her role. "We have come a long way," Kairos began, his voice strong. "But we are not done. There is still work to be done. There are still wolves to win over, and there are still battles to fight. But as long as we stand together, as long as we believe in each other, we will succeed." Jasmine stepped forward, her voice clear and unwavering. "This pack is not just about strength. It's about unity, about trust. And I will earn that trust, just as I will continue to earn your respect." The pack remained silent, but Jasmine could feel the shift in the air. This time, the silence didn't feel heavy with doubt. It felt like the beginning of something new. As the days went by, Jasmine and Kairos worked tirelessly, not just to rebuild the pack, but to create a future that was stronger than it had ever been before. They worked together to mend broken relationships, to heal old wounds, and to show every wolf that they were part of something greater than themselves. And with each small victory, Jasmine's confidence grew. She was no longer just an Omega. She was Kairos's Jasmine, his equal, and she was ready to lead. Weeks passed, and with each passing day, the pack grew stronger. Jasmine's place as their Jasmine was no longer questioned. She had proven herself, not just to Kairos, but to the pack as well. They were united now, stronger than ever, and with Jasmine and Kairos leading them, there was nothing they couldn't overcome. One evening, as Jasmine and Kairos stood together, looking out over the pack's territory, Jasmine felt a sense of peace she had never known before. "We did it," she said softly, her voice filled with wonder. "Yes, we did," Kairos replied, his arm around her shoulders. "And we will continue to do it, together." As they stood there, the full moon shining down on them, Jasmine knew that this was just the beginning of their journey. Together, they would face whatever came their way, united as one, and they would lead the pack into a new era, stronger, united, and unstoppable. The weeks continued to pass, and with each passing day, the Crescent Moon Pack grew stronger, united under the leadership of Jasmine and Kairos. Jasmine had settled into her role as Jasmine, but there were still many challenges ahead. There were wolves who were still unsure of her, still questions about whether she truly belonged in this position of power. Jasmine knew she had to prove herself every day, not just to the pack, but to herself. One morning, as the sun rose over the horizon, Jasmine stood at the edge of the pack's territory, gazing out at the vast forest that stretched before her. It was beautiful, peaceful, but she knew it would not remain that way forever. There were still threats to their peace, forces that would seek to tear apart the unity they had fought so hard to build. "We have come so far," Jasmine whispered to herself, her heart heavy with the weight of her responsibilities. "But I don't know if we're ready for what's to come." Just then, she felt a strong hand on her shoulder. She turned to see Kairos standing behind her, his expression serious but filled with understanding. "Jasmine," he said softly, "we are ready. You are ready." Jasmine looked into his eyes, seeing the unwavering confidence in them. For a moment, she felt the familiar doubt creeping into her chest, but Kairos' presence was grounding. He had always believed in her, and now, she had to believe in herself. "I don't know if I can handle it all," she confessed, her voice barely a whisper. "I know it's not easy," Kairos said, his voice strong, "but you are not alone. We are in this together, always." Jasmine took a deep breath, trying to steady her nerves. She knew Kairos was right. This was her destiny, and she had to face whatever came next with strength and courage. "I will do everything I can," she said firmly, the resolve in her voice growing stronger. Kairos smiled, his eyes shining with pride. "I know you will," he replied, "and I'll be right here with you, every step of the way." As the day wore on, Jasmine and Kairos gathered the pack together once more. The wolves stood before them, their faces a mixture of uncertainty and respect. Jasmine could feel the tension in the air, but she stood tall, determined to show them that she was not just the alpha's mate. She was their Jasmine, their leader. "We have faced many challenges together," Kairos began, his voice commanding. "And we will face many more. But I know that together, we can overcome anything. Jasmine and I are committed to leading this pack into the future, stronger and united. And I ask for your trust, your loyalty, and your support." The pack remained silent, their eyes fixed on Jasmine. She could feel the weight of their gaze, the expectation in the air, but she stood her ground. This was her moment to show them that she was not just the alpha's mate. She was a force to be reckoned with. "I know that some of you still have doubts," Jasmine said, her voice steady and strong. "And that's okay. Trust is earned, not given. But I promise you this. I will earn your trust, just as I have earned Kairos." The silence in the clearing was thick, but Jasmine did not falter. She could feel Kairos' presence beside her, his support unwavering. Slowly, one by one, the wolves began to bow their heads, acknowledging Jasmine as their Jasmine. It wasn't immediate, and it wasn't easy, but Jasmine could feel the shift. The pack was beginning to accept her. With each passing day, the pack grew stronger, and Jasmine felt herself growing alongside them. She was no longer just the Omega who had been pushed aside. She was Jasmine, an alpha in her own right, and no one could take that from her. But even as the pack began to accept her, Jasmine knew the true test was yet to come. The peace they had fought for would always be fragile, and there would always be forces working to tear them apart. But she was ready. She had Kairos by her side, and together they would face whatever came their way. As the sun set over the pack's territory, Jasmine and Kairos stood together, looking out at the horizon. "We will face every challenge," Jasmine said softly. "Together." Kairos turned to her, a proud smile on his face. "Together," he agreed. And as they stood there, united, they knew that nothing could ever break the bond they had forged. Nothing could stand in the way of their future. The days that followed were filled with both triumph and challenges. The Crescent Moon Pack was coming together, slowly but surely, as Jasmine and Kairos worked side by side to restore order and build a stronger, more united future. But despite their progress, the looming threat of outside dangers continued to hang over them. Jasmine knew it was only a matter of time before they would have to face a true test, one that would determine not just their leadership, but their survival. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the world in golden light, Jasmine stood alone by the pack's border, lost in thought. She could feel the weight of her responsibilities pressing down on her, the quiet murmurs of doubt that still echoed in the back of her mind. Had she truly earned her place as Jasmine? Could she protect the pack from the dangers that lurked beyond the forest? "You're thinking too much again," came a voice from behind her. Jasmine turned to see Kairos standing there, his expression soft but knowing. "I can't help it," Jasmine said with a smile, though her heart felt heavy. "There's always something. There's always more to do, more to prove." Kairos stepped closer, his presence a steadying force. "You've done more than enough, Jasmine," he said softly, placing a hand on her shoulder. "I believe in you. The pack believes in you. And that's all that matters." Jasmine turned to face him fully, her eyes searching his. She could feel the truth in his words, but still, a part of her hesitated. "What if they don't?" she whispered, her voice filled with uncertainty. "What if I'm not enough?" Kairos smiled, his eyes filled with unwavering confidence. "You are more than enough, Jasmine. You always have been." With his words, a sense of peace began to settle over her. She had doubted herself so many times before, but now, standing here with Kairos by her side, she knew that she was not alone. Together, they could face whatever came their way. The next morning, the pack gathered in the clearing once again. This time, Jasmine could feel the change in the air. There was a new sense of unity, a new understanding between the wolves. They no longer looked at her with doubt or suspicion. Instead, they looked to her with respect, with trust. Kairos stood beside her, his presence strong, but it was Jasmine who stepped forward, ready to take the next step. "We've come a long way," Jasmine began, her voice steady and strong. "But this is just the beginning. We still have many challenges ahead of us. And there will be times when we will have to fight, when we will have to defend our home and our people. But I promise you this, we will not fight alone. We will fight as one, united." The pack stood silently, their eyes fixed on her. Jasmine could feel the weight of their gaze, but this time, it didn't feel like pressure. It felt like support, like the beginning of something new. "We are family," Jasmine continued. "And as long as we stand together, nothing can break us. We will face whatever comes, and we will do it together." There was a moment of silence before the pack erupted in howls, their voices echoing through the forest. It was a sound of unity, of strength, and Jasmine could feel her heart swell with pride. The pack had accepted her, and together, they would face whatever challenges the future held. As the howls died down, Kairos stepped forward, his voice strong. "We are stronger now," he said, "and together, we will reclaim everything that was lost. Nothing will stop us. We will rise." Jasmine stood beside him, her heart full, knowing that this was the beginning of their true journey. The road ahead would not be easy, but with Kairos by her side, and with the pack behind her, she knew that they could overcome anything. Together, they would build a future stronger than anything they had ever known. And as the pack began to disperse, Jasmine felt a sense of peace she had never experienced before. She was no longer the Omega who had been overlooked. She was Jasmine, the mate of Kairos, the alpha of the Crescent Moon Pack, and she would lead them into a new era, one where they would face every challenge together as one. With her heart full of determination and hope, Jasmine knew that nothing could stand in their way. As the days passed, Jasmine's leadership continued to grow stronger. The pack, once divided and uncertain, was now a united force, and Jasmine was no longer just Kairos's mate. She had become a respected leader in her own right. But even as she gained more confidence, she knew that peace could be fleeting, and their enemies were always lurking in the shadows. One morning, as Jasmine stood at the edge of the pack's territory, gazing out at the dense forest, she felt an unsettling feeling deep within her chest. Something was off. The wind carried a strange scent, one that she had not smelled before. She turned to Kairos, who had come up behind her, sensing her unease. "What's wrong?" he asked softly, his voice filled with concern. Jasmine glanced at him, her heart racing. "I don't know, but I feel like something is coming. Something we're not prepared for." Kairos studied her for a moment, his eyes narrowing as he took in the same scent that had unsettled her. "You're right," he said quietly. "Something's wrong, but we'll face it together. Whatever it is, we are ready." Jasmine nodded, grateful for his unwavering confidence. She had come to trust his instincts, just as he had come to trust hers. They had been through so much together, and Jasmine knew that whatever came next, they would stand united. That evening, as the pack gathered around the fire, Jasmine could sense the tension in the air. The wolves were uneasy, their eyes darting around the clearing, waiting for something to happen. Jasmine stood beside Kairos, her gaze scanning the forest, but there was nothing there. Yet the feeling of danger lingered. Suddenly, a howl pierced the night air, sending a chill down Jasmine's spine. It was not a familiar call. It was a challenge, a warning. The pack went silent, their heads snapping toward the sound. "Get ready," Kairos said, his voice low and filled with authority. "They're here." Jasmine's heart raced as she turned to face him. "Who is it?" she asked, her voice steady despite the fear that threatened to rise in her chest. "A rival pack," Kairos replied, his eyes narrowing. "They've been waiting for the right moment to strike. We need to protect the pack, and we need to do it now." Jasmine's mind raced as she quickly made her way to the front of the pack, her thoughts focused on the safety of her wolves. She had never faced an attack like this, but she knew what needed to be done. "Stand together," Jasmine called out to the pack, her voice clear and commanding. "We will not back down. We are Crescent Moon, and we will fight for what is ours. Together, we are strong." The wolves howled in response, their voices echoing through the forest, a sign of their unity and strength. Kairos stood beside her, his presence a reminder that they were not alone in this fight. As the rival pack emerged from the trees, Jasmine could see the numbers, the sharp glint of their eyes in the moonlight. They were led by a tall, imposing alpha, his dark fur glistening in the light. His eyes locked onto Jasmine and Kairos, a challenge in them that sent a shiver down her spine. "I am Victor, Alpha of the Midnight Pack," the dark alpha called, his voice deep and filled with authority. "And you, Jasmine of the Crescent Moon, are nothing but a weak imitation of what an alpha should be. Surrender now, and I will let you live." Jasmine stood tall, her heart beating steadily in her chest. She could feel Kairos beside her, his strength radiating through the air. She had faced doubts before, but now she had the pack's trust, and she would not back down. "I will never surrender to you," Jasmine said, her voice unwavering. "We are Crescent Moon, and we will defend our pack with everything we have. You will leave now, or we will fight until the last wolf stands." Victor's lips curled into a smile, his teeth gleaming in the moonlight. "Very well," he said. "Then we will see who is truly stronger." As the rival pack charged forward, Jasmine's instincts kicked in, and she fought alongside the pack, the sound of battle filling the night air. Kairos was at her side, their movements in perfect sync as they defended their territory. The wolves of Crescent Moon fought with everything they had, their unity and strength a testament to the bond that Jasmine and Kairos had built. The battle raged on, but Jasmine knew that no matter what happened, she would fight for her pack, for her future, and for the life they had built together. As the final blow was struck and the rival pack was forced to retreat, Jasmine stood victorious, her heart pounding with the adrenaline of the fight. She turned to Kairos, her eyes filled with determination. "We did it," she said, her voice filled with pride. Kairos smiled, his eyes filled with admiration. "We did it, together," he replied, his hand resting on her shoulder. The pack had faced their first true test, and they had emerged victorious. Jasmine had proven that she was not just the alpha's mate, but a leader in her own right. And with Kairos by her side, they knew they could face whatever challenges lay ahead. As the days turned into weeks and the weeks into months, the Crescent Moon Pack grew stronger than ever. Jasmine and Kairos stood side by side, their bond unbreakable, their love for each other only growing deeper with each passing day. The pack had faced many challenges, but they had overcome them all, together. The wolves of Crescent Moon were united, their loyalty to their alpha and Jasmine unwavering. The threat of the Midnight Pack was now a distant memory, their retreat a symbol of the pack's strength and resilience. Jasmine had proven herself as a leader, not just to Kairos, but to the pack as well. No longer did they question her ability to lead. No longer was she the Omega who had been cast aside. She was Jasmine, the true alpha of Crescent Moon. As Jasmine stood in the clearing one evening, watching the wolves train, she felt a deep sense of peace settle in her chest. The weight of leadership no longer felt like a burden. She had found her place, not only as Kairos' mate, but as a leader in her own right. The pack was thriving, and with Kairos by her side, she knew they could face any challenge that came their way. Kairos approached her from behind, his footsteps light on the grass. "You've been quiet," he said, his voice gentle. Jasmine turned to him, a soft smile on her lips. "I was just thinking about how far we've come," she said, her voice filled with contentment. "How much we've built." Kairos stepped closer, taking her hand in his. "We've come a long way, but it's only the beginning," he said, his eyes filled with pride. "We've built a pack that is stronger than ever. But we've also built something more. We've built a future, Jasmine. Together, we'll continue to grow, to lead, and to protect those who depend on us." Jasmine looked up at him, her heart swelling with love. "Together," she whispered. Kairos smiled, pulling her close. Together. The months passed in a blur of training, growth, and rebuilding. The Crescent Moon Pack was becoming a beacon of hope in a world that had once been filled with fear and uncertainty. Wolves from neighboring packs came to seek shelter, drawn by the strength and unity that Jasmine and Kairos had cultivated. They were no longer a pack fighting to survive. They were a pack that thrived, that welcomed others, and that stood as a symbol of what true leadership could achieve. But as peaceful as their lives had become, Jasmine knew that the world was never static. New challenges would always arise. New threats would always lurk in the shadows. Yet she no longer feared what the future held. With Kairos by her side, and the pack's trust in her, she knew that they could face anything together. One evening, as the full moon rose high in the sky, Jasmine and Kairos stood at the top of the hill overlooking their territory. The pack was gathered below, their eyes on their leaders. The moonlight bathed them in its soft glow, casting a silvery light over the land they had fought to protect. Jasmine turned to Kairos, her heart full of gratitude. "We've built something beautiful, haven't we?" she asked, her voice filled with emotion. Kairos nodded, his eyes softening as he gazed at her. "We have, and it's only the beginning. The future is ours, Jasmine. Together, we will lead this pack into a new era, one of strength, unity, and love." Jasmine smiled, feeling the weight of their journey lift from her shoulders. She had found her place, not just in the pack, but in the world. She was Jasmine, Kairos' mate, and together, they had created something that would last for generations to come. As the pack howled in unison, their voices rising in a chorus of strength and unity, Jasmine knew that their bond was unbreakable and that their future was limitless. She had proven herself, not just as a leader, but as a symbol of hope and strength. And, as long as she and Kairos stood together, nothing would ever tear them apart. The future was theirs to shape, and Jasmine knew that with love and unity, there was nothing they couldn't achieve. In this thrilling werewolf tale, Jasmine rises from being an overlooked Omega to becoming the powerful Jasmine of the Crescent Moon Pack. With her mate, Kairos, the alpha of the pack, Jasmine faces numerous challenges, from rival werewolves to the internal struggles of leadership. The bond between Jasmine and Kairos grows stronger as they work together to rebuild their pack, forging a future of unity and strength. But their journey is not without obstacles, and the pack must face threats from within and beyond. As Jasmine proves herself worthy of being the pack's Jasmine, she learns what it means to be a true leader in the world of werewolves. Alongside Kairos, she faces trials and battles that test not just their physical strength, but the power of their bond. In a world where the werewolf packs are constantly vying for dominance, Jasmine must overcome fear and doubt to protect her people. Her courage, determination, and growing leadership make her an inspiring figure, proving that even the most vulnerable werewolf can rise to greatness. With Kairos at her side, Jasmine becomes a force to be reckoned with, embodying the strength, loyalty, and resilience of the werewolf spirit. Together, they will lead the Crescent Moon Pack into a new era, where they are stronger than ever, united as one. The pack's future looks bright, as Jasmine proves that true power lies not just in physical strength, but in unity, love, and unbreakable bonds. This is the story of a werewolf's journey to become a leader, a protector, and a symbol of hope for all who walk in the world of werewolves.